And we're live. Okay, episode 2. BHBP. What are we talking about today?
COVID.
The Coof.
Updates on
The
Maui.
Coof is back. Maui
Trump
again, yes. That mugshot. The mugshot seen around the world.
We'll pull it up later. And anything you agree with, anything you disagree with, comment.
Yeah, let's get a discussion going. Let's see what everyone has to say about the different topics we cover, because the whole goal with this is not only to inform, but to engage with everyone that watches and to see what the opinions of the populace are. So
we don't have to agree, but we have to be informed.
We have to be informed. Information is the best defense against tyranny. All right, Andrew, where are we starting?
Let's start with COVID.
All righty. Everyone's favorite topic is the mask. Is masking coming back?
Yeah, anyone that hasn't been keeping up with that, it's looking like there's gonna be another possible lockdown. At least the TSA is gonna start mandating masks again at airports. Alex Jones broke the story like just over a week ago.
Yeah, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I think, is when he broke it. I could be wrong. And then like the very next day, the major news outlets were reporting on it, and then obviously the source is CBSnews.com. But this is talking about the 3 new COVID variants that are spreading rapidly along the country. Spreading across the country. And the big question is, are masks coming back? CDC, well, let's be clear, CDC has not officially released anything as far as like a national standard or a state. None of the states have released any standards, but different educational institutions. What else we got? I know that many colleges have talked about it. Public schools, different businesses. A lot of them are saying that that masking is coming back. So, yeah, how are we feeling? You excited? You excited to double mask and wear a face shield again? Well, I saw everything. I know I am.
I think a lot of people who did some research aren't going to follow along this time. We might have followed along last time. I think there's going to be a lot of protests.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely could see that. And I think that where we agree is not only protesting in the sense of like, I don't even think that we technically mean like in the street, but protesting in the sense of, hey, I'm not wearing a mask because that's bullshit, and it was bullshit the first time, and I'm just not going to do it. And what are you going to do? And, you know, a lot of these businesses that are starting to push this shit on a private level, they better be careful, because a lot of these people that have, you know, actually finally done the research and have actually found out that masking is basically a hoax against coronavirus and the SARS variant, that you know, they're going to be impacted as far as people that are going to want to shop there, because the great thing about capitalism is if you provide a great service and a great product, you'll have people there. And if you pass stupid shit like this, or you mandate stupid shit like this, that's the downfall of it.
Yeah. And I think that as the people of this country, we should be supporting smaller businesses a lot more than we do over the big chains, the mega companies, because a lot of small businesses went completely out of business during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And we should they absolutely support them this time around.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I actually was I went to a local game shop yesterday. I always like to support them. And I was talking to the owner. I've known him for a couple years now. And he was telling me that during COVID, that the supply, because we were talking about supply chains, and that there was a couple like low budget, we'll call it low budget, like private games that were starting to come out, like different tabletop games and whatnot. And when the government announced that they were going to give like the breaks and the payouts to these different companies, they literally liquidated their stock of what they had, and then they just collected the money and just never came back again. They just took it and ran, and it's crazy how many companies folded because it was more profitable than trying to stay open in the insane restrictions that were out.
Yeah.
I know. It was crazy.
If you go back to the source, scroll down a little bit to COVID variants and masks, there's something I wanted to hit on there.
Yeah, sure. COVID variants and masks. Tell me if I pass it. I passed it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so
22% hospitalizations in the last week. And mind you, just so everyone back home can see, this was published August 25th, 2023. So this was published yesterday for us because today is 8/26/23. So COVID hospitalizations climbed 22% this week. Hospitalizations. 3 years after COVID was the big boogeyman. But anyways, what point did you want to hit
on? Right below that. So in a 2021 60 Minutes interview, virologist Paul Duprex explained the current and future emergence of new variants. He's quoted as saying, "We can certainly stop it making as many mutations by stopping it infecting as many people. If we block its transmission, keyword, if we wear a mask, if we get vaccinated, if we do social distancing." We can pull up more sources for that, but there's many sources out there that talk about the efficiency of masks and vaccines with transmission of the virus, and it doesn't match the rhetoric that they push throughout the pandemic.
No, not at all. And I kind of take a stance on this where I personally think the masks, the whole thing is just kind of another control method. But however, if grandma wants to go to the grocery store and she wants to wear gloves and a mask, I feel like that's reasonable in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Just because that's like, it's and even if it doesn't help, it's kind of like a placebo. It's like it makes them feel like it is. The gloves thing, that's different. But the whole mask thing, and you see these people that, Jesus Christ, I remember when COVID first hit, I saw a dude in Walmart with a gas mask on.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm not even talking like a respirator. I'm talking, which I did see paint respirators, but I'm talking like a full on like Seaburn gas mask. And it's like, what are you doing, man? Like, it is crazy. But yeah, so don't be surprised if those start popping up again in your friendly neighborhood mom and pop shops. You still with us, Andrew?
Yeah. Am I back?
Okay. Yeah, no, you're good.
I had a problem with the camera.
So,
but I was going to say,
you're good.
I don't think it will be bad that this time. Has CNN brought back their live 24-hour death tracker from COVID that they immediately removed upon Joe Biden's inauguration?
It's going to start up again. It's going to start up again for sure.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about it to me is, if I recall, and I could be wrong, but if I recall, this time last year, COVID was gone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean that in the dark winter. Like, the virus is gone. But it, like, gone in the sense of, like, being mainstream like it was. I mean, people were still talking about it, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't function because of COVID. It was like, yeah, okay, people get, and I got COVID last year. I got Delta.
I get it every year.
And, I'm not going to lie, it kicks my ass as much as any flu ever has. But, I'm here.
Yeah, I've been getting about once a year. It's either a strong flu or it's a headache. It's not always the same.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people say. And you know what else is crazy? Every other year, usually, maybe every 3 years, I get the flu. So
Yeah, I
it's
just
almost
hope
like
more
it's
people
a
are aware of the propaganda out there. That 24-hour death counter that was immediately removed upon Biden's inauguration. You look at CNN, it's like,
there's a term called fear mongering.
yeah, exactly, fear mongering.
Google that.
Look at the
Google
mainstream
fear
news;
mongering.
it looks like a Hollywood war movie production. So I don't watch it anymore.
The mainstream media makes it look like the rapture's
And if you
about to
know anything
happen any
about
moment
control,
now.
fear is the best way to control people. You can read 1984
Yep.
if you want to learn more about that.
1984, the book that's been banned in so many countries.
Yep.
Don't we love it? Big Brother's always watching.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what else we got?
You can go to the next source.
All right, so we were looking at vaccines. Yep. Okay. So prior infection reduced transmission of Omicron. Omicron, that one.
Yep.
Okay. All right. What points do you want to hit on it? And this is from ucsf.edu, and that is the University of California, San Francisco, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so a study in California prisons found that recent vaccination and boosters reduce infections, but infection risks remain high. This was published on the 2nd of this year. January 2nd of this year, excuse me. So, it looks like vaccination and boosting helped spread the limit of COVID-19 in California prisons during the first Omicron wave, according to analysis by researchers at UC San Francisco that examined the transmission between people living in the same cell.
So
Okay, so they did the
down,
study.
it starts with breakthrough infections.
All right.
Breakthrough
infections
were common despite the residents' relatively high vaccination rate of 81%. I'm sure everyone remembers they use the word breakthrough, but usually the word breakthrough, you're using that for rare instances, but there was a breakthrough case all the time. We know all the celebrities that were vaccinated but still got the virus throughout the pandemic. Breakthrough cases were very common.
And let's remind people what a breakthrough case is, just in case they don't know.
So yeah, breakthrough cases is if you're fully vaccinated, yet you still become infected with the virus.
So this is if somebody is up to date on their boost or initially got the immunization and up to date on all their boosters, yet the virus still gets through to them.
Yep.
So breakthrough cases were common despite the relatively high vaccination of 81%. In just 5 months, there were 22,334 confirmed SARS-CoV-2 Omicron infections, 31 hospitalizations. So, what that means in layman's terms, and I'm going to go ahead and pop off here just so we're not reading that tiny text. So, what that says to me is that no matter what, you're still going to get it.
And you're going to spread it. You're going to
spread it. Now, the rhetoric to begin with from Fauci and the CDC was that it was going to stop it initially. And then they course corrected when they noticed that it was starting to people are still contracting it. And then they were saying, oh, well, it's just going to lessen the symptoms.
Yeah, and there's a good reason they did that, even though they knew the facts. In order to get the emergency authorization that Pfizer and Moderna had in the beginning of the pandemic, they had to prove that there were absolutely no other alternative medications for the virus. If you recall, Joe Rogan, he came on air, talked about how he used alternative medicines to defeat the virus when he became infected with it. Here's some of the fear mongering CNN did. They filtered his skin yellow, said it was horse dewormer,
They made
even
him
though
yellow.
ivermectin received the guy who created ivermectin received the Nobel Prize for its
Mm-hmm.
effectiveness in humans fighting flu symptoms. Um,
Mm-hmm. And the reason
the
that,
president of the United
and
States, Donald
just to
Trump,
hit on that.
used different medications, hydroxychloroquine. He didn't use the vaccine. They
Mm-hmm.
treated him with hydroxychloroquine. The reason we have all this propaganda and fear mongering is because if people start to realize that there's alternative methods besides the vaccines, then the emergency use authorization is absolutely corrupt.
But what about Big Pharma? They have to they have to feed their kids, right? They have mouths to feed.
Fauci is
There's
on Big Pharma's payroll, and you can look that up yourself. He received a lot of money from
no,
vaccine companies.
no. You mean when he was in front of the, forgive me, I don't recall if it was Congress or the Senate hearing, but, and they asked him what those kickbacks were, and he said, I'm not at liberty to disclose the amount.
He's also the man that
And
said
you can look that up. That's 100% legit.
he's
I'm not
also
making that
quoted
up.
as saying the science changed.
Well,
Anytime
there's
he's
a difference
proven
between
wrong, the science changed.
science and the science.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the science is whatever the powers that be determine the science to be at that point in time, and science is just cold hard
I
facts.
can just go right back to the book 1984 with that one. They want you to think 2 plus 2. If they can tell you 2 plus 2 is 5 and you believe it, they've got total control. If they can tell you science
Yep.
changes and you believe it, it's the exact same thing.
And not to get too far derailed with this, but Andrew and I both have extensively discussed this. Language is a huge thing that there is a massive assault on language and the everyday verbiage that the West uses and that humans as a whole use. If they try to take everyday language from us, that is how they will strip us of reality.
How can we
Because
inform each other and become educated if we can't even communicate?
Right. Because if they say that red no longer is red and the word red is representative for the color blue, that is when they've won. And if you go along with it, that is when they've won.
Yep.
Not to get too far derailed off there, but you guys got to start stepping back and looking at stuff and thinking, hey, is this the whole truth or is this the truth that they want me to know? But anyways, so moral of the story with that article is just because you get vaccinated, you are definitely not you don't have a shield blocking you from getting it. And hopefully it does lessen your symptoms, but who knows? What else we got?
So you can go ahead and comment whatever you think about the upcoming COVID mandates returning, mask mandates, possible vaccine mandates returning. But there's also some updates about the wildfires in Maui, specifically the police department,
Yes.
causing more
Yeah,
deaths
let's
rather
kick on over to this.
than stopping it.
So this is from The Hill. Yeah, this is hitting on the blockades that were set up. No.
Yes, and this is a trend I've seen all week. Stories coming out, and you see them on TikTok, YouTube, mainstream media articles. A lot of people are coming out and talking about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last week, if you recall, we showed the video with the man named Fisher. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the audio to come through for whatever reason.
Right.
But he was describing how basically there was an officer on one of the major, I don't recall if it was a highway, but one of the major roads into the town that he was living in, and the officer said that he was on orders to not let people leave that designated zone.
According to that civilian Fisher, that route was the only route away from the fires that was surrounding them.
Mm-hmm. Which is absolutely, I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, just look at the
I don't
title of
even
this
know what to
article.
say about that.
Maui residents who disobeyed barricades survived fires. Associated Press.
That's so heartbreaking
Yeah.
because what I mean, what it's not like this is a damn zombie apocalypse. These aren't infected people that are trying to get through and they could spread disease or infect. These are people that are running from a horrific blaze of their entire existence, their whole cities, their livelihood, their homes, everything gone. Their animals, their loved ones, and they're just trying to leave. They're just trying to flee to safety. And then law enforcement's ordered to corral people? Like, what are we doing?
If
So,
anything, you'd think they wouldn't have enough people to start rescue operations, and they're wasting people on shutting down roads. You got to fire at people's homes. I think you can trust the people to know how to escape it. I mean, they know where they're going. They know how to get to safety.
right. And like in my mind, if this was anything to do with a law enforcement act, like in the sense of like, oh, well, this could be, oh, the perp could be there if there was a perp. No, even though this was totally blamed on uh oh god, I'm having a brain fart. Global warming
Right.
and environmental reasons. So how is this blamed on environmental issues? Yet the only justification for corralling citizens would be for a law enforcement investigation. Which, I mean, you can't have an investigation when it's blamed on global warming. So
Right.
kind of fishy. The tragic thing with everything going on too is this bit right here, that at least 114 people have been killed, and the FBI's estimated over 1,100 people are unaccounted for. And I guarantee you that that first statistic is gonna drastically
Absolutely.
increase. But was there anything else interesting in this article?
No, not that I found.
Just all the fluff. Just all the fluff. But yeah, our hearts go out to the families. I know that the whole thoughts and prayers thing is, everyone gets tired of it. Every time you see a shooting, every time anything happens, it's thoughts and prayers. But I mean, unfortunately, it seems that us little guys, that's about all we can afford to do because our tax dollars aren't being allocated to those
And if
people.
you're tired of that,
Because if we had a choice of where they were allocated, yeah, there'd be a little more.
yeah, and if you're tired of that being all you can do, then help us support our goal of informing the population so we can start holding these people accountable who make these mistakes and it never happens again. Honor the people that
Oh yeah,
have faced the consequences of the criminal neglect, regardless of intent. We theorize on it all day, but it's criminal neglect in this country. And we got
yeah. Regardless of the theories that are out there, the long and the short, the bottom line of it is, take the conspiracy out. This
look
was
at the
criminal
human
neglect.
life.
I mean, 11,000 people still unaccounted for. Do you think they're just hanging up in the trees, just waiting for somebody to come find them? Like, I'm sorry, it's terrible. It's sad. It's a travesty, and it somebody needs to be held accountable. They do, and the only way we do that is, like Andrew said, you stay informed and hold your representatives accountable, because these are the people that make these decisions. But I digress. What else we got?
Pull
What
up
else we want to hit on?
Orange Man's mugshot.
Orange Man bad.
Pull that up.
Okay, so for anyone that hasn't heard, which I don't know if there's anyone that would watch this that hasn't heard, President Trump, former President Trump, current President Trump, whatever the hell side of the fence you sit on, I think that both of us have our likes and dislikes of Trump, but I'll definitely tell you this: my wallet was a little bit heavier when this man was in office. Yeah, not only has he been indicted for what is it, like 4 times now, if not more. This one actually got a mugshot for it. Look at that. Look at that hair. So yeah, this is from the Associated Press. President Trump mugshot.
Wild times.
So wild times indeed. So for anyone that doesn't know what this indictment is about, let's go ahead and hit on that. So they got him on let's say trumped up charges, because that's just fun. Trumped up charges on basically election interference, solely for the only way they could find this man and his associates guilty is if Donald Trump 1,000% believed he lost the election and was then just trying to be an ass and cause interference. What do you think about that, Andrew?
What? I want to say, obviously, he obviously didn't believe that.
Do you think he lost?
Just speaking for myself, I saw the videos of the election buildings, them boarding up the windows so nobody can see them counting. You have multiple stories.
And let me preface this really quick, not to cut you off. This is specifically happening in Georgia, which Georgia, if anyone remembers, Georgia was the place where, I forget what the building was, but they literally saw people pulling boxes out that were like stowed away and pulling boxes out and pulling ballots out of those boxes. We just missed them at 2 a.m.
Before that, they kicked all of the, I don't know what's called, people that can sign up to be a watcher. They usually have Republicans and Democrats that watch the vote counting to make sure everything goes good. They kicked those people home, told them that a water main broke. And
that was in the same building.
Yep.
That was in the same building where they found the people pulling those ballot boxes out at 2 a.m. They said they had sent everybody home.
Go home. And there's footage. You can look it up anywhere. Like Turner said, they started pulling boxes of bins out from under their desks, started counting everything. There's fact checks out there, and they'll tell you this is a false claim. They didn't pull bins out. What were they called? It's another word for.
It was like a traveling
there's a specific
box
term for it, but
it was something stupid.
The fact checkers jumped all over that. They're gonna say that people that talked about it, like me and you right now, it's a false claim. Well, it's not. They pulled out these boxes. They started counting, submitting ballots like crazy past 2 a.m. And then they said, oh no, we never said the water main broke, but you can look it up on YouTube right now.
I actually have that footage pulled up right now for us. This is an interesting watch. So this was posted on December 4th. This is a video
that surfaced during the Georgia State Senate hearing on.
You can hear that? Oh wow, that one's actually working. Okay.
Senate hearing on possible election fraud is now raising some serious questions tonight. The video was presented by President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, and his team. Now, it is surveillance footage. You're looking at it right now. Ballots are being counted after the presidential election. The place, Atlanta, Georgia. It shows at about 10:40 election night, the observers were to believe that the ballot counting had stopped for the night.
The Democrat and Republican citizen observers. Anyone can sign up to be an observer. They typically have a registered Democrat and registered Republicans to be observers. That's us. That's the regular Joe. Me and you, making sure everything.
Where's my registered third party?
They might have one. I don't know everything.
Sorry. Sorry.
They definitely have them. But
I had to throw that in there.
They kicked out anyone. It doesn't
evil.
matter if you were Democrat, Republican. Doesn't matter what side you're on, because the enemy is the people. It's not a party issue. Go back to the video, please.
Mm-hmm. It's not a party issue, and it never has been. It's been a, for lack of a better term, the globalists, the powers that be. I like to use that term because that is a very generalized statement. Rich men north of Richmond, yes sir. And quick shout out to Oliver Anthony, because his statement that he just dropped yesterday, I know I sent it to you guys, where he said that them playing that song at the debate, the Republican debate, and he said, I hope you understand that the song is about you, right. So I don't know why you're playing it. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Yeah. This man is something else. He is something else, because he is speaking for the people, not for the left or the right, but for the average Joe. Anyways, I digress. Let's get back to it.
Everybody had left except for the ballot counters. Watch what happens in the upper right-hand corner of your screen.
They're going to stop counting. They will wait until the witnesses over there in that roped-off area, the press and the observers, leave the room. Then you'll see them move into action and begin scanning ballots.
Now, the Georgia Secretary of State maintains that there was no widespread fraud in the
No widespread fraud. That's their official statement, but there's no response to that.
So what do we think that could have been? You usher everyone out.
They all knew what they were doing. They didn't sit around waiting instructions. That was planned. They knew exactly what they were doing.
They went right to it.
And there's no official statement explaining what the heck we just saw. They just think the people are going to take it, forget about it, never hold them accountable. They're just going to get away with it.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Yeah, it's honestly very scary. And now they're indicting a man on charges of like trying to get in the way of an election by saying he didn't believe he won. If anyone watched anything from 2016, arguably 2014 to 2020, the relevancy of Donald Trump in politics, if that man ever thought he lost anything, I would be, there's no way. Everything is the best. Believe me, ask anyone I know. You can ask anyone in Atlanta. Everyone knows I won. It's like, hello? And then they're trying to imprison him on this, saying that he didn't believe he won? Like, are you crazy?
He's not the first politician running for president to believe that they did not, in fact, lose the election. This goes back decades. Al Gore and Bush.
Yep. That was when we were
but 1 year old. You don't have to go that far. You can go back to 2016. How long did it take Hillary to concede that election? And then for over 4 years, you had the Russia hoax. And I can call it a hoax because the government committee organized to investigate through and through. The Russia involvement in Trump's presidency. Found nothing. Absolutely nothing. They admitted they found nothing, but you get no apology or explanation from the mainstream media. People still believe it.
Which, mind you, thank God we spent millions of taxpayer dollars on that, but we're still only sending $700 to the Maui survivors. Just
billions of dollars to the war that we created in Ukraine. $700 per household to Maui.
But they need it. You know what would help? You know what would help if we sent javelins to Maui? That would just help.
Patriot missiles.
Patriot
That's what
missiles,
they
yes. Yes, if we sent the Patriot missile system. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they got enough of them out there with the 25th.
If
But
you think
yeah.
another example of it not being a party issue, I saw a little bit of the Republican debate, and they asked a question. They asked the candidates to raise their hands if they believe that if they will not support more funding to Ukraine. Only one man in that room. How many candidates were there?
Let me look it up, but I want to
think it
say
was
there
around
was
8.
8.
But only one of them raised their hand to stop funding to Ukraine. So if you think it's a party issue, you can never be more wrong.
Nope. Nope. It's it's kind of crazy. Let's see here. Oh
I think
boy,
Ron
they got
DeSantis
a
gave it
YouTube
like
video
a
on
half
each of them. So
raise
there
and
was
put it
Mike
down. He didn't know
Pence,
what he was doing.
Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Chris Christie,
Vivek Ramaswamy, he's the only one that raised his hand on that one. But
Doug Burnham was the only
just
one
the
that did
Republican
or
Party
did
only had
not.
one man do it. Raised
He's
his
the only
hand
one that did or
saying that
didn't
he
raise his
will
hand.
not support more funding to Ukraine. That's the
And
minority in the
that
party.
kind of segues into what I wanted to touch on. That was Vivek, in my mind, landslide. Like, he's fired up, he's impassioned with what he says, he speaks very quickly. He was the only one up there, to me, that didn't seem like he was just a robot. Like, he was just shitting out what the party told him to shit out.
I don't think he'll be the
That's just my take.
I am
Not that
I'll put money on it's going to be Donald Trump, whether he's in jail or not,
No.
unless he gets found guilty on the treason charge in D.C., which would be absolutely insane. But
yeah. If that happens, I'm pretty sure every single MAGA hat wearer is gonna do a lot more than January
Ramaswamy would
6th.
be a great cabinet member. Trump likes him, and I'm gonna
smart guy
voice my support for RFK Jr. vice president. Donald Trump can follow Abraham Lincoln's playbook post Civil War, pick a Democrat vice president to unite the country. I know it doesn't answer everything, and people still need to just hold politicians accountable, get informed, but man, history.
I agree too. I think that that the balance that could be struck, not only between the legacy of the Kennedy family and the Trump family, but which I don't want to talk about, the aristocrats, if you will, but the Kennedy family holds a very special place in a lot of Americans'
JFK
hearts,
and RFK Jr.
especially.
I mean,
right, and yeah, and they, we spoke. I believe we touched on it in the last episode of just how in touch with the spirit of America JFK was, because he knew that the people didn't want to go to be in wars that they didn't want to be in, and he knew that the average working Joe, deserved their dues. Everyone's flawed, but RFK Jr. has a lot of solid points he supports. There are some things I disagree with, but that's every politician. And I support the research and the work that he's done into the whole vaccine situation. And his book that he's written on Anthony Fauci, the real Anthony Fauci. I've not read it myself. I've read excerpts from it. Yeah. That is one hell of a book.
If you've seen a lot of negative articles about him, this might be why. That book.
Yeah. Shameless plug. Go read the real Anthony Fauci. because the bits I've read from it are whoa.
Another thing I love about RFK Jr.,
Whoa.
whether you agree with him or not, he said if he becomes president, he will ban all federal agencies from suppressing any political speech whatsoever. So whether you agree with him or not, I think we all agree with that one. Freedom of speech. It's our First Amendment, most important right.
If we ever lose the First Amendment, we fall as a society. The First Amendment is the quintessential thing that makes us American. Well, that and the Second Amendment, but
Second Amendment protects the First.
The First Amendment is, and that's why it was installed. And a lot of people that sit there and say, "Oh, it's dated," you don't understand what it's used for. And
look at North Korea, look at China,
the argument,
look at Russia, look at all our enemies in the world.
Oh no,
tyranny is not outdated,
you can't use
neither is our Constitution.
Nope, not one bit. And oh god, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's oh yeah, the argument that I've heard so many people use, and this isn't a party issue. The argument I've seen so many people use is, well, what would you ever do with the Second Amendment versus the American military? I'm like, okay, hang on, this is getting really deep. So first off, you're insinuating that there ever would be open civil war, which you've had you've had your dealings with that, with the military. Lot, the other co-host, has, I had brief involvement, and it's normal people that are in the armed
super
service,
short.
The armed forces.
Okay, the argument, what are you going to do against the military? Every single person in the military makes an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies and domestic. If they turn tyrannical, they are violating that oath. Mm-hmm. And I know these men and women, they're not going to do it. So the whole question is...
No, they wouldn't do it.
It's ridiculous to me. It's not going to happen. The people of our military are brave men and women who believe in our Constitution. They're not going to violate it. You have that discretion as a United States military member.
And that... Yeah. You do. And that's another huge point to hit on. Our nation's military is a volunteer service. It is people that voluntarily, potentially, I mean, it's a little different nowadays, but potentially put their lives on the line to uphold the Constitution, defend the Constitution, foreign and domestic. And you're trying to use the argument that those people are the people that are going to suppress the populace. And the other point I just want to make really fast, because this is kind of my troll asshole point. If you ever bring that up, the two references I like to use are the Taliban and the IRA. If you ever want to see that quote with Joe Biden say, "What are you going to do with an AR-15 against an airplane?" The Taliban and the IRA. Just do a little history. 120 years of the IRA. It's kind of... There's a reason why only a small percentage of their island has ever been under British occupation. But anywho, we're getting way off topic. So the initial topic was the Trump indictment. Kind of bonkers. I guess shifting away from that, the last thing I really had on my mind was the recent development out of Russia. 1 second, let me pull this up. Was the Wagner, if you're in the West, or the Wagner group, if you're anywhere that actually knows how to speak this language. The leader, let me pull up his name. This is a name that I am going to have fun trying to read this. Let me pull this up. Prigozhin plane crash. So this is something that kind of totally caught me off guard 2 days ago, to a point where I think I called you about it or you called me about it, where if anyone knows about the Wagner Group, what was it, 2 months ago that they just bull rushed Moscow and tried to do a
the leader
coup?
of the Wagner Group was accusing Putin of not taking care of his people because if you don't know, the Wagner Group is doing the majority of the fighting in Ukraine.
Well, let's do a full synopsis. So the Wagner Group are mercenaries, and they are a large private military, like a very large private military.
Putin isn't treating the conflict in Ukraine as a total war. Unlike media likes you to believe, it's not total war for Russia. They're sending mercenaries, they're sending conscripts, they're not sending their entire military into Ukraine. So the Wagner Group has been doing I don't know if I can say majority, but a major, a lot of
They've
heavy
done a
lifting.
lot of heavy lifting.
The leader of Wagner felt that his people weren't being taken care of as much as he wanted to by Putin. So about 2 months ago, they said they were going to march on Moscow and confront Putin in Moscow about it. Our media was saying that it's like a possible civil war going on. It was wild, but
there was civil war. There was a coup. There were so many different
oust Putin and destabilize Russia. NATO has made that very clear. That's also one of Ukraine's goals. We talked about it last week. That's one of NATO's goals in the war in Ukraine. But yeah, so this guy disobeyed Putin, and while the same day Putin was meeting with China and Saudi Arabia, strengthening their alliance, this guy's plane got taken down.
Oh, and I love this. Mind you, this is from abcnews.com. Talking about push. Oh, geez. Where is that coming from? Jeez, sorry. That was stupid loud. Talking about pushing a narrative right here from ABC News. There's not much that happens in Russia that Putin is not behind. But I don't know enough to know the answer, was said by President Joe Biden. So a plane goes down. So we didn't even talk about this. A private plane, a business plane he was on, crashed north of Moscow earlier this week, and there's still not been confirmed reports of his death, but it is highly speculated that he was amongst the dead because he was on the manifest. And our government is accusing a solid answer on him. Apparently,
pipeline. The Russian pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was 6 months ago. That's a whole other basket of worms. But yeah, so here we are, leader of the free world, accusing Putin of assassinating somebody, and we're at a point where we're like talking is off the table. And so we're just.
It does make a lot.
I mean, it's speculation.
That's our answer.
An engine
There's not
much
that happens in Russia that Putin's not behind. All right. I mean, it does make sense that it's Putin, but I mean, that's like the same type of response we got for the pipeline that benefited Russia, and we said they blew it up and hurt their own economy.
Right. Yeah. I take it with a grain of salt. In the face. I mean, it. Yeah, take everything that's said, especially from our current sitting president, with a grain of salt, because
unless you want to know what type of ice cream.
he doesn't even know where he's at half the time, but the other half of the time.
And if he's wiped his butt.
Unless you want to
It's a
know
little
about his fuzzy blonde legs that the kids used to play with at the pool. Yeah, it's off topic. Sorry, boss. But no, I mean that strikes a chord with me in the sense of like, again, like I touched on last week, leaders of the free world, or at one point we were. With civilization comes diplomacy, and the pen is much mightier than the sword. Why is our first reaction to just start accusing people of murder?
Yeah, and it kind of takes all our strength away from diplomacy.
Like, what happened
Yeah,
to
it
the
takes
phrase
all of our
diplomatic
diplomatic
approach?
power away from us once they know
Right.
exactly what our game plan is, which is to accuse Putin. You didn't see this with Donald Trump. He said, "Hey, I'm not going to reveal what we're doing. I'm going to come from a position of strength." It's not what we're doing right now. Feeding fueling the fire, feeding the flames, whatever you want to call it. We're not pursuing policy whatsoever.
Yeah, we're throwing gas on an already volatile situation. No, and you know the thing with Donald Trump when he was in office, I mean the fact that he literally met with Kim Jong-un and literally jokingly called him Little Rocket Man, and they had shook his hand. That's what we're supposed to do. And you know, I said it last week. Teddy Roosevelt, walk softly and carry a big stick. That means that you be the nicest, kindest, most outgoing person you can be. But if somebody fucks with you, you beat the ever living shit out of them and remind them why you don't get on our bad side. Like,
sorry,
but now
I just want to make this clear.
No, you're fine. No, not you. I'm getting frustrated with the damn situation because it's like the entirety of the ideology of this nation in the past 100 years has shifted from men and women that had balls and that actually knew what it took to be a dominating force in this world to secondhand pushovers.
When we talk about Ukraine, we're talking about Zelensky and the oligarchs. I support the people in Ukraine defending their own country 100%. We would do the same exact thing.
Of course.
When we talk about this, they like to mainstream likes to spin it as, "Oh, we're pro Putin." We're not pro Zelensky. We're not pro Putin.
I'm not pro. I'm pro diplomacy. I'm pro. Don't take this out of context. I am pro living, not pro life. Pro living. I like people to be. Hey guys, it's Solomon. I just wanted to pause really quick and clarify that when I say that I'm not pro life, I misspoke. It was 1 a.m. in the morning when we were covering this. Andrew and I both know where each other stands on the whole pro life issue, and we both agreed that in the future we'll cover it in a video on its own. So, yeah, don't hold that one against me. That's not how I feel on the subject. And, yeah, we'll be covering that in the future. But anyways, enjoy the rest of the podcast. Thanks. To be living. I am anti-war is a better way to phrase that. And, you know, I'm glad that you referenced that again, because that can be severely taken out of context. But I have a disdain for war hawks. I do. And the one that really bothered me that I learned about recently, only this past year, was the history of Winston Churchill. And I don't remember if I touched on this last podcast, but if you guys ever want to learn the mind of a warhawk, read up on Winston Churchill and World War I,
JFK's
because
father's relationship with Winston Churchill. He was the ambassador to the UK at the time.
Yeah. Yep. Because there was a strong hatred towards Germany after World War I. understandably.
They went after a war.
But have you heard of Germany? They started a world war twice. Or they started a war twice. You know who with? The world. Oh man, that's good stand up. I'm so sad that he died. Oh, why is his who was it? Why is he slipping my mind? Norm Macdonald, yes, that is a funny ass bit on Germany. But to finish what I was saying, my rant. There's a lot of people that have a lot to gain from war, and it's not the people that are actually fighting it.
All right.
That's all I have to say.
That's it for me.
What else do we want to touch on? That's it. Yeah, it's been a busy yet somewhat not busy week in the news. It's just been like busy with like little stories. There hasn't been anything. Oh, one thing I do want to hit on really quick that I saw earlier. There was a shooting. In Jacksonville today, and it was a racial based shooting. I don't know if you saw anything on this. Yeah, I just saw this earlier today, and that's why I wanted to bring it up really quick. It looks like it was targeting like the African Americans in Jacksonville, Florida, and I don't know if it was to that let's see. Shooting was racially motivated because he hated black people. Yeah, so I guess so. I guess just with that, obviously, again, thoughts and prayers, but this is not going to stop until this nation unifies, and the only way we unify is through education.
Let's demand all facts from exactly what happened so that we can prevent this from ever happening again. And it reminds me of a point I wanted to bring up in the podcast. The shooting that involved the transgender person. We have still yet to see the manifesto from that shooting. They promised us we would see
in Tennessee.
It's been months, almost half a year, and we still haven't seen the manifesto. We got it immediately with other shootings, but we still haven't seen it with this one.
Yep, I believe it was a 2 to 3 day turnaround with the Buffalo shooter from the FBI, and it has been about. Yep,
we need to know all facts about everything that's happening. We need to be informed so we can hold people accountable. The media, the elites have some bias or some intent. Yep. There's some reason why they haven't released this manifesto, but.
And the bottom line of it is it's tragic, but you are 1,000% right in that if we don't have all the information, we won't know how to prevent this in the future. And you can't just be biased or prejudiced or whatever when it comes to events like this. And I know that I'm sure that this podcast could catch some flack because we're a couple of young, white, straight dudes,
absolutely
Christians.
Support our government, our Constitution, 100%. Never went against it. We're talking about criminal negligence. We're talking about holding politicians accountable. It's basic responsibilities of a well-informed republic.
Yep. And to a point, I also want to say it's sad. To me, at least, that I have to say that because there are people out there like this asshole that just went into a dollar store and shot and murdered 3 people that do have hate in their heart and do want to cause harm to others. And it's just, that's not at all, we love everyone. We love this nation. And the reason we're doing this is because we love our Constitution and we want everyone in that umbrella that is covered under the Constitution to have
voice,
equal rights, equal opportunity,
quality
not
versus
equal outcome, but equal opportunity. And yes, to have a voice. Equality versus equity. We stand for equality. And yeah, I think with that, you ready to wrap things up, Andrew? Any closing statements you want to say? Or,
look,
pretty much covered
comment
it.
anything you disagreed with or agreed with. We want to know what you guys think. It'll help.
Yeah, we want you guys to get involved. You know, this is a small startup that we have going on, and you know, we want to grow the viewer base, and we want an unbiased viewer base as well. You know, if you're on the left,
We're not saying we know
like
everything.
we stand for
Educate
the
us if
truth.
you got
That's what we want. So
to
you know, get involved. No. Yeah. And you know, if you guys have any suggestions for how we should format the podcast or anything on the technical side, let us know. You know, we are sponges when it comes to information. Andrew and I are kind of like I don't know. We eat it up. Yeah, we eat it up. And before we leave, I'm going to do a shameless plug. I've been streaming every weekday, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch. So I'll link it in the description. But if you guys could stop by 8 p.m. Eastern time, show me some love, that'd be much appreciated. And yeah, thanks for watching episode 2 of the Bunker Hill Boys podcast. And yeah, have a good week.